Hey guys, it's Christian from Christ Scene Web Show. I'm just here to say hey again and deliver a message that the Lord has given me entitled Stepping Out of Trouble and Into Triumph. Now, you'll see it says Part 1 at the bottom. Part 1 means that this is just the first part. There's, I think, going to be 4 to 5 parts, maybe 6, depending how I split it up. But today we'll start with Moses. And each part will be a surprise. I will not tell you who we will be doing um, until you see the video. So today we'll start with Moses. If you have your Bibles, turn to Exodus chapter 2, verse 11. If you don't have your Bibles, that's fine. You can just listen, or you can look up the verses on your computer as I read them. Okay? Exodus 2 and 11 says, "And it came to pass in those days when Moses was grown, that he went out unto his brethren, and looked on their burdens, and he spied on an Egyptian smiting a Hebrew, one of his brethren. And he looked this way and that way, and when he saw that there was no man, he slew the Egyptian, and hid him in the sand. And when he went out the second day, behold, 2 men of the Hebrews strove together, and he said to him that did the wrong, Wherefore smitest thou thy fellow? And he said, Who made thee a prince and a judge over us? Intendest thou to kill me as thou did the Egyptian? And Moses feared and said, Surely this thing is known." So basically, Moses killed an Egyptian to save one of his brothers. So now, as you continue through Exodus chapter 2 and into chapter 3, especially chapter 3, or the end of chapter 2, Moses runs away because he's scared. So he runs away, and he goes to... it doesn't really say where he goes, but... Oh, sorry, he goes to Midian. He runs away, he goes to Midian. Well, then he comes back, or along the way, he sees a burning bush. And the burning bush, of course, is God. And he's giving him a message to go to Pharaoh and tell Pharaoh, I am the I am. He said, tell the children. Exodus 3, verse 13, he says, And God said unto Moses, I am that I am. And he said, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you. So he's given Moses a message to go tell the people of Israel. Now, he then tells Moses, God then tells Moses to go and try to get his brethren out of the hands of Egypt through the Egyptian ruler. So, but then in chapter 4 of Exodus, he says, But behold, they will not believe me, nor hearken unto me, nor hearken unto my voice, for they will say, The Lord hath not appeared unto thee. And the Lord said unto him, What is that in thy hand? And he said, A rod. And he said, Cast it on the ground. And he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from before it. And the Lord said unto Moses, Put forth thine hand, and take it by the tail. He put forth thine hand, and caught it, and became a rod in his hand. Now, he was going to show that to the Israelites. He was going to show it to Pharaoh, because to convince Pharaoh that God was almighty and he would take his people back. Well, he went to Pharaoh, um, and he uh, went and talked to him, and Pharaoh didn't believe him. Okay, and so so Moses takes his rod, throws it on the ground, and it turns into a snake. Well, then, um, after Pharaoh says it, oh, okay, well, you can do that, and he gets his magicians, and they try to do it, and they can't do it. Well, then, um, Moses proves to him again after he comes back to Pharaoh. He proves to him that his God is real because he turns the water into blood. And they say, well, oh, I can do that. And the magicians try and they can't do it. Well, then, lastly, or a little bit before that, before the last thing happens, they have the plague of locusts. And he kind of, the Pharaoh kind of weakens a little bit and says, well, maybe God is real. But then God hardens his heart again. So then, at the last test that Pharaoh goes through is, or that Moses goes through, sorry, is the Passover, which is when God told Moses to take blood and draw it over the doorpost. So you have you have a door like this. So you would draw up here, and up here. So it would be a cross on the doorpost, because you know how Jesus had the blood around his head. Well, they would kill a sheep for sacrifice, and they would eat it, or yeah, kill a sheep for sacrifice, take his blood, and put it over the top and the two sides, so that it would be a cross, like Jesus died on, because they had the blood coming out of his hands, so that's the sides, and then they had the blood coming out of his head, which is the top. So when God sent the death angel, he would see the blood and he would pass over it. See, now that's what God does with us, because when we accept Jesus into our life, God sees the blood and he passes over us in his judgment. Now that's what he'll do on the last days too, because um, in the last days, the Antichrist is going to come back, and he's going to want a mark into our wrists. Sorry, I was going to say head, but I've heard other people say, well, it's going to be in the head. Well, it's going to be somewhere on our body. It's going to be tattooed. Well, not mine, but and not any other Christians really, but non-Christians, non-believers, that are going to have a mark somewhere on their body. It could be their wrist, could be their head, um, it could be anywhere. But it's going to have the number 666 onto it, which is the devil's number, or the Antichrist's number. But see, those that have the blood will not will be called up before that. Those that have the blood, like the cross, like the Passover dinner, will be called up into heaven before God rains out his judgment. Now, if you keep reading in Exodus, the Lord finally, after all this, Pharaoh finally lets them go. And they get to the Red Sea, which is near about just out of Egypt. And Pharaoh hardens his heart again. He goes chasing after him. And Moses, they get to the Red Sea, and all the Israelites are like, no, it's a trap that we can't pass. Well, then Moses takes his rod and holds it up like this, holds his hands up, or holds the rod up in one hand and his other hand up, and the sea opens. And they walk on the dry ground, and they get across. Well, then Pharaoh's army is just coming up right behind them. And then when Pharaoh's army, or when the Israelites come across, Pharaoh's army is still walking on the dry land. And then Moses shuts the waters back, or actually Moses doesn't do it, but God shuts the waters back, and all the Egyptians drown. So I hope this message has enlightened you, has helped you in your spirit. But uh, one thing that you must keep in mind: stay close to God. Whatever you do, stay close to God. Don't be let down by what other people will say, because other people don't matter. It's only God that matters. So keep praying. God bless you, and I'll see you again soon.